Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining me today for our lunchtime session on micro-credentials at University of Galway Centre for Adult Learning and Professional Development. My name is Emma Goode. I am the Micro-Creds project lead at the university, and I am joined today by a selection of the university's academics who have designed and delivered micro-credentials in subject areas as diverse as gemmology and gemstones, crystallography and mineralogy of gemstones, a suite of Construct Innovate modules, including sustainability planning and construction, innovation and entrepreneurship, digital construction technologies, modern methods of construction and passive house designer, and lastly, a range of micro-credentials relating to manufacturing technology, including scalable science, technology and innovation, rapid prototyping and pilot production, enabling laser technology for manufacturing, enterprise simulation for digital twinning, programming sensors and actuators, robotics and automated systems, material science and processes and design of engineering systems. Now, I hope you all took notes on getting those. But to be serious, this session is being held as a Zoom webinar. So if you have any questions on micro-credentials or if you have any questions for any of the panelists, please submit them via the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Some of my colleagues are moderating the Q&A at the end of the panel discussion. We will respond to any questions that come through to us. Now, many of you are probably aware of what micro-credentials are, but for those who are new to the concept, I will give a brief overview of what they are and the beneficial differences between them and previously available models of short courses, the generous fee subsidies available for micro-credentials, and I'll explain what the recognition of prior learning is and how it can be leveraged in your educational journey. Our panelists will give some information on their specific topics, as well as talking more generally on how micro-credentials differ from traditional methods of education, what is expected of learners from an academic perspective, how much work is required for a micro-credential, how students are assessed on their learning, and so on. Now, this webinar is being recorded and will be emailed to you, so there's no need to worry about taking notes or screenshots. You can focus fully on the information as it's being delivered. Now, today's University of Galway panelists are Dr. Alessandra Costanzo, who delivers micro-credentials in the crystallography and mineralogy of gemstones and geology and gemstones, Professor Jamie Goggins, who oversees the Construct Innovate micro-credentials, and Padraig Conneely, who delivers micro-credentials in programming sensors and actuators and robotics and automated systems. Now, before I get to the panel discussion, I'm going to very quickly go through what a micro-credential is. Essentially, they are short accredited courses. What accredited means is that on completion of the course, the learner receives a formal university record of their learning. Now, these learning outcomes have been assessed against transparent and clearly defined standards on a national level. It's a means of providing learning opportunities, offering a highly flexible, bite-sized and accessible way of upskilling and reskilling. And while micro-credentials are standalone units of learning, they are designed to be stackable and can be combined with other micro-credentials where recognised pathways have been formed to achieve larger qualifications, such as certificates, diplomas or masters. At their essence, they provide the learner with specific knowledge, skills and competencies that respond to societal, personal or labour market needs. Micro-credentials are designed to meet the identified demands of learners, enterprise and industry sectors and are built upon University of Galway's areas of expertise. Having a micro-credential demonstrates that you have studied a university-level course and completed it to this standard. Each micro-credential will give you skills and knowledge directly related to the work environment and can assist in your career development. As these are university modules, they require a level of commitment. Unlike other short courses which reward attendance and participation, you do need to invest time and effort into any micro-credential you choose to undertake in order to successfully complete it. Now, we have an extensive variety of short, flexible micro-credentials available for semester one in key areas such as sustainability, business and management, science and technology, languages, nursing and healthcare, and AI. And you can see a range of what we have available here. Now, there are plenty of fee subsidies available for micro-credentials. The government, through the Higher Education Authority, has provided a fee subsidy to support adult learners returning to or beginning in higher education of 80% for courses in key priority areas such as renewable energy, sustainability, construction and planning, AI, cybersecurity, ICT and electronic engineering, and a 50% subsidy is available for other courses. Now, what this means in practice is that instead of costing €2,035, our micro-credential in modern methods of construction, which has an 80% subsidy, costs €407. When the 80% subsidy is applied to, say, entertainment law, this micro-credential costs the learner €110 instead of €550. Manufacturing technology is available at a cost of €275 with a 50% subsidy instead of €550, and over 50 University of Galway micro-credentials are covered by the subsidy. Now, to avail of the subsidy for the micro-credential, you need to apply for the course first, and once your application is received and accepted, you will be sent the relevant application forms and information on the fee subsidy. The subsidy is covered by the government for this coming semester and is available on a first-come, first-served basis. So it's important to get your application in as soon as you have your decision made. And if you have a question relating to the fee subsidy, please put it into the Q&A and we will answer it at the end. Now, recognition of prior learning, or RPL, is a process by which your previous learning is formally valued by the University of Galway. Through the RPL process, your prior learning is identified, assessed and recognised by the university in relation to courses that it offers. Prior learning may have been acquired through previous formal courses, work experience or training. It can be used to access entry to a course where learners do not meet the standard entry criteria, or advanced entry into a course, for example, maybe into the second or third year. Or it can be used to be exempt from one or two or more modules on a course. And my colleague, Suzanne Golden, whose contact details are on this slide, will be able to assist you with any query you may have relating to RPL. And there's just some further, further information and our contact details. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here, and I'm sure you've heard enough from me and you're dying to hear what our panelists have to say. Excuse me. Now, if you do have any questions, do pop them into the chat and my academic colleagues will begin talking about their micro-credentials now. So Alex, if I could start with you, can you give a brief introduction to the micro-credentials that you teach, geology and gemstones and the crystallography and mineralogy of gemstones? And why is this an area that would attract learners?
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much, Emma. These two micro-credential are part of the bigger diploma in Gemmology that ran over 2 years, which is made in total by 6 modules. So this microcred, geology and gemstone, US 102 and US 102, 101 and 102 represent module 1 and 2 of the biggest diploma. They're both basically an introduction to geology of gemstone and the crystallography of gemstone, which are basically at the base of the gemmology in general. Gemmology is a branch within geology. Okay, so we can't really study gemstone if we don't know where the gemstone come from and how the gemstone grow. So, and this goes again why we do geology in 102, 101 and crystallography in 102. Both of these microcreds, as well as the other microcreds that we will be offering for year 2 of the diploma, they're all hands-on microcreds, okay? So gemmology is a hands-on science, which involve 50% theory and 50% practicals. These practicals means that you will be in a lab twice for each microcreds, handling gemstone rocks and actively seeing yourself what a gemstone and what a rocks will tell you without me telling you what it is. The other thing that's relevant for these and the gemmology in general, that these microcreds and these modules, let's call them, for Gemmology the University of Galway are unique in Ireland. There is no other course leading you to a diploma in Gemmology in Ireland. We're the only one. We have the only biggest gemmology and geology collection, teaching gemmology collection for students. You will be able to handle as many as, well, thousands of gemstones from natural to synthetic material, including diamonds and the famous synthetic diamonds that now are so in trend. And that's it. Why would you be interested in that? This is a very, very niche subject. Again, as I say to you, it's not very taught in any other university in Ireland. We have students coming from all over the country, just specifically for this one. And again, these microcreds will basically lead into the diploma. So you will come in, see how good this course is, and hopefully wanted to join the full diploma later on.
Thanks, Alex. Can I just ask another question? What sort of careers can people hope to get into out of that course?
Yeah. So again, if you do only the microcreds, it's just again an introduction to geology and gemmology. Of course, if you do the full diploma, you will have at the end the full diploma in gemmology. And what you would be looking into, it's again working in the jewelry and gemmology industry. Depending on the background of the student itself, we might have jewelers that apply for this course, or you might have just interest, kind of have a long life interest in gemmology, but you will be looking into maybe going into valuation. You might be going into goldsmithing or silversmith, if you're interested in creating your own jewelry, or just again upscaling your skills and go into selling jewelry in a jeweler. In the past, all of some students went into cutting gemstone, for example, and become gem cutter. So again, really depend of the original interest. But the one thing that I want to underline as well, we have a lot of retired people doing this course as well, just out of interest. You just need interest and desire in learning something new, and you will have a great pleasure to do this course.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Alex. Jamie, you're here today with a full house of micro-credentials in modern methods of construction. Can you very quickly run through each of them and explain why somebody might want to upskill in this area?
Sure, yeah. Thanks a lot. So we've a whole range of flexible construction innovation courses available here at the University of Galway. So they can be taken as standalone micro-credentials, or you can stack them together into giving you a postgraduate certificate, a postgraduate diploma, or eventually working up towards a full master's level qualification. So the individual micro-credentials that we have are sustainability planning and construction, digital construction technologies, modern methods of construction, innovation entrepreneurship, and passive house designer. So I suppose I'll quickly go through what each of those are. So the first one is sustainability planning and construction. It starts in September. It's an 8-week block. So we deliver them in blocks. So you don't do the micro-credentials in parallel. You do one, you finish that, then you can start another, and so on. And as I said, you can stack them together to get you a postgraduate cert or diploma, or eventually a master's level qualification. So sustainability planning and construction, it's all around how we build. So basically, it's around developing more sustainable construction processes and products. So things that we focus on would be energy efficient buildings, the energy performance of buildings, retrofitting existing buildings, the materials that we use and the products we use in our construction to make sure that they have low embodied carbon in them, that they have low impact on the environment, all around the decarbonisation of the construction process, around the circular economy, so how we can reuse materials and so on, and a bit around planning, how we actually plan our infrastructure or the built environment as well. So that's all around sustainability. So it's a really important area because effectively we have a climate action plan in Ireland. We also have the Green Deal in Europe. So we cannot keep building the same way as we currently build. So we can't keep building our buildings, our wastewater treatment systems, our roads, or our rails the same as we currently do, or else we'll blow our carbon budget. Effectively, we will put too much carbon into the atmosphere because 40% of the carbon is associated with the construction and built environment sector. So that's the first one. So that starts in September. Then the next one then after that would be around digital construction technologies in there. So this is a micro-credential digital construction technologies. It's an 8-week block. It starts in November. And effectively that is all around the state-of-the-art technologies that we use for delivering projects in construction. And that's everything from the digital platforms, building information modeling, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, virtual reality, and so on. So a whole range of things. So again, why is this important? Well, we're on a sustainability transition in the construction sector. We're also on a digital transition in the construction sector. So there's a mandate there from government that all large government projects have to be delivered through building information modeling in there. So we are really digitizing the construction sector at the moment. And then not only because it's mandatory, but also because there's a huge amount of opportunities for improving efficiencies, new business opportunities, and so on around embracing digital construction technologies. The next one then after that is around modern methods of construction. So that starts in January. Again, it's an 8-week block. And this is around, so we have the challenge of sustainability, we have the digital transition. We also have a challenge around productivity within the construction sector. So we effectively don't have enough people in the construction sector to deliver all the housing we need, all the infrastructure we need, like the schools, the hospitals, the pharmaceuticals, things, the roads, rail, and so on. So we're short about 120,000 people compared to what we need to deliver on what's in the National Development Plan. That's the €165 billion plan from the government for doing the built environment in Ireland up to 2030. So we have to come up with new ways of building that are more efficient. So effectively, you get more productivity out of all the people that are working in there. And a way to do that is around using modern methods of construction. So for example, making more things in the factory and less time spent on site. So trying to make, for example, a home fully 3D modular, put it on the back of the lorry and land it to site, and it's all done, fitted out with your furniture and everything in it, and away you go. So we go through how we do that in terms of modern methods of construction, what types of tools, techniques are available, how we deal with quality control, quality assurance, the whole process along the way, and so on. So that's the modern methods of construction. Then the fourth micro-credential then is on innovation entrepreneurship. That'll start in March. So after the modern methods of construction finishes, the innovation entrepreneurship. And this is around looking at what opportunities there are around innovation entrepreneurship. So we will bring you along using the innovation journey. So if you have an idea for a new product or new service, how much you go through that in terms of testing that idea, trying to flesh out that idea, and so on. So that's an 8-week block. And then we also have in parallel, we have a passive designer course or micro-credential that starts in September. That's a longer block. That's a 12-week block. So effectively, that is learning how about passive house design. And it's done in association with the Passive House Institute. So at the end of that one, you'll get an international recognized qualification or certificate out of it to make our buildings more energy efficient, how the building envelope works, the indoor air quality works, how we retrofit our buildings, and so on in there. So huge amount of transition going on in the construction sector at the moment. So a lot of upskilling needed from people currently in the construction sector, but we need a lot of new people into the construction sector as well. So that's key reasons why we do these. And maybe if you want me to talk about how we deliver the 8-week block.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, so it's a blended version, but it's mainly online. So what we do is we would have a live webinar every Tuesday from 12 to 1:30. And we'll have speakers there, which are basically talking about state of the art in whatever area we're discussing that week. And typically they come from industry or from the research community. Then we have a live online workshop on Wednesday evenings from 7 to 9 p.m. where we work through some of these different problems in there and try and test or use different tools or processes or techniques and so on. So we get hands-on learning that way. And then we have a lot of information up online. Instead of giving traditional lectures, and having to sit there in the evening trying to do that, we have recorded a lot of those, made the information available online for people, so you can work through that in your own time, so that we can be more interactive when we're actually together on the Wednesday afternoon online. And then on week 5 of the 8-week block, we have an in-person workshop, which kind of runs from 10 o'clock until 4 o'clock in the day. And that's again where you get hands-on experience, but it's also a great way for networking, meet the other people that are on the course and so on. So it's on a Saturday on the end of week 5 in each of those 8-week blocks.
Excellent. So it's very flexible and very, I suppose, up to date in terms of the content that you're delivering. It's just moving at a very fast pace, I imagine.
Yeah, it's moving very fast paced. September will be our 3rd year running these micro-credentials, and we have to update things regularly. So it's not like other things where you kind of design it, pull it up online, and away you go, and that's it, and it's fine for the next 5 or 10 years. This is a very fast moving area in the construction sector. Brilliant time to be involved if you're looking for new and exciting things to be involved in. So yeah, so it does change, just change a lot. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much, Jamie. And now, Padraig, to you. You teach programming sensors and actuators and robotics and automated systems. Can you briefly give an overview of what is covered and how applicable is what you teach to the workforce?
Yeah, thanks, Emma. Yeah, so kind of similar to Jamie, we've undergone a bit of a change with these courses this year. So we've launched 5 new courses, all in the advanced manufacturing space. The 2 that you just mentioned are part of a manufacturing automation course. So we've got robotics and automated systems, which is very, very applicable to people that are working in manufacturing. Many manufacturing industries all over the country now have robots doing various different tasks. So you're going to learn a bit about the background of robots, how they go together, how their joints are configured, etc. Different types of robots, so standard industrial robots, 4-axis, 5-axis, 6, 7-axis, SCAR robots, Delta robots, mobile robots. Learn a bit of the background about all those different types of robots, and really focus then in on their application in industry. So not super maths and calculation based, more so into how you can actually apply it in industry. So you'll be looking at what applications might work in your workplace, and then you might be doing an assignment where you're trying to develop that application using some simulation software. So we've luckily managed to get some online simulation software, which we can share the licenses with all of our students so they can work on it remotely in their own time, develop an application with a robot, with grippers, actuators, boxes, or whatever else you might be picking, turntables, conveyors, things like that, and learn how to actually program all of the different motions and opening and closing of grippers, and run that simulation, then look at cycle times, look at collisions, other really interesting stuff. So you'll be working away on that in your own time, quite similar to the delivery method that Jamie mentioned. So you'll have online reading material, you'll have some videos, some webinars, some things like that to watch. We'll come together once a month for a tutorial kind of lecture, usually on a Saturday, which is 2.5 hours long, and it's recorded with a short break in the middle. So you get to meet your fellow students or learners, talk through problems, talk through applications, look at some industry applications, and then around about maybe 3/4 of the way through the semester, we come together to do a lab. So for the robotics lab, we will have 5 small kind of educational robot kits. So you'll take what you've done at home and your simulation software, and you'll try and replicate it then in teams on the the robot kit. So you get that kind of hands-on experience of actually programming a robot and debugging your program. Also get to meet your fellow classmates, and I get to meet everyone as well. So it's great fun.
Win-win.
Yeah, so that's the robotics one. So on the programming, sensors and actuators, then we look at kind of the other side of automation, so more into the PLCs, the sensors, the linear actuators, how they all work. We do some PLC programming and a little bit of Arduino programming as well. And similarly, you'll work away on assignments relevant to your work at home in your own time. You'll test if your program works in a simulation environment, which again you can do from home. And then we'll come together for a lab, again around 3/4 of the way through the course, where we have in the lab we've 8 PLC kits, and we've I think 6 or 8 Arduino kits. And you'll then try and implement the logic that you developed at home, wire it up and see, you know, if I break this sensor, does that actuator actually fire? Does what I thought was going to happen actually happen? And then can I debug it? So usually we do a 5-hour session for those types of labs on site, where you get to meet everybody and get on the tool. So it's very good. And just to kind of touch on some of the other modules, so we do also an enterprise simulation and digital twinning module. So this is really looking at you know, modeling in a simulation environment production processes, and see, you know, can I ramp up or can I ramp down, or do I have a bottleneck here or there? What would happen if I put in an additional piece of equipment, or if I launched a new product that needed to flow in a different way? You know, where would the bottlenecks be? How can I go through that in a simulation environment and get answers out of it that might help make business decisions? So it's really applicable to people working in manufacturing, and maybe in some other industries as well, where automation is creeping in more so.
Lovely. Thanks very much, Padraig. Alex, I'm just going to ask another question of you. Some of our learners may have been out of study for many years, or they may not even have attended university previously. How does the delivery and design of your micro-credentials take this into account?
Yeah, well, it takes, well, I look at the student that I have in front of me and adjust the course according to it. But in general, the diploma in Gemmology, the whole course, as well as this microcreds, are built on the base that the student that arrive might be out of university or out of studying for many years. So anybody can really attend this, and there is no prerequisite. The only prerequisite for these microcreds is an interest for the subject, and everything will be adjusted according to the people that I have in front of me. The lectures are online, so this as well is a blended class. So the lectures are online, and this only requests the fact that the student is present each Wednesday night and listen attentively to the lecture. And then the practical, there are 2 full-day practicals for each microcred on a Saturday, 10 to 4. Other than that, people say, I cannot draw, I cannot color, and that's fine. We will adjust what we require for a particular assignment according to what kind of Picasso I have in front of me. So absolutely no prerequisite, and people should not be scared to get back into education. Definitely not for this kind of studying.
Lovely, thanks very much. And Jamie, I know that a key difference between, say, a short course that a learner could take and a micro-credential is that micro-credentials have to be assessed, either with the end of course exam or continuous assessment or an assignment or a project. Can you give examples of what your students are expected to do from some of the various micro-credentials that you deliver?
Yep. So all of our assessment is done through continuous assessment. So through short assignments or project work. So typically in each micro-credential, we would have several kind of shorter assignments and maybe one larger project to do. In our workshops on the Wednesday afternoon, we typically try to work through some of those assignments in there so that you have a good bit of it done beforehand. We also do them typically in groups in the assignments. We do in breakout groups, and you work through the assignments. The projects will be individual projects in there. So it's all continuous assessment. So it's effectively just keeping going, keeping work through it each week. Get your work done each week. We cover a theme or a topic each week. Work on your assignment, get it submitted in by the next week, and then on to the next one and so on. The project, we let that run for most of the semester. So we might introduce the project most of the 8-week block. Introduce the project maybe in week 2 or 3, and then submit it maybe in week 7 or something like that. So so it's all continuous assessment.
Fantastic. And Jamie, I know as well that you have designed and have delivered one ECT course that is available for free for anybody who's interested if they want to get a feel for the Construct Innovate space, I suppose. Could you talk a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, so we've taken one of the weeks out of sustainability planning and construction and then just lifted it out as a separate one, ECTS Micro-cred. So it's on the week around retrofitting Ireland's buildings in there. So each of our blocks are effectively 10 ECTSs, and just to give people an idea, what does that mean? So 10 ECTS is about 200 hours worth of our student effort, and that's the learner's effort. So that's between engaging with the online material, like watching the lectures, reading material and so on, doing your assignments and your projects, attending the webinars, and attending the workshops. So we've taken 1 week out of the first one, and we've made that available as a standalone micro-credential. So it just shows, I suppose, it gives people the feeling of what the online self-directed learning content would be like, and then you do a multiple choice questions at the end to show that you have the knowledge for that week. What would be different then in the longer micro-credentials, like the 8-week block, is that there would be live talks from experts around in the area, and also there will be the live workshops as well, the hands-on workshops as well. So that's not embedded obviously in the one ECTS micro-credential that we've made available, because it's to do it in your own time, and also to give you a flavour of what the self-directed learning component would be like.
But it's I suppose a great way of getting a feel for what this area could be like. So if somebody was interested, they could just dip their toe into the water, explore the space, see if they measure up or if this is something for them. And if they were interested after that, they could go ahead maybe and book a micro-credential that they can do that without doing this course either.
Yeah, and it also, so it's same as true. It's mentioned by all 3 panelists today around these micro-credentials being able to use. It's been stackable towards bigger qualifications, like in our case, ours are all level 9 in there, so you can get a postgraduate certificate when you say do 3 micro-credentials together. It could give you a postgraduate certificate. If you do 6 of them, 6 courses or 6 micro-credentials, you get a postgraduate diploma. And then to get the master's qualification from our side in construction innovation, you do a larger thesis or a larger kind of bit of research or applied research component later on. So it's I'd say, don't be afraid to have a go and say, look at, do one of these micro-credentials and see if that's, if it suits you in terms of your home life, your work life, and so on, and then build on that and maybe get a postgraduate, or in our case, get a postgraduate certification or diploma or master's level qualification.
Lovely, thanks very much. I just see that we've gone a little bit over time, so we might just have to say goodbye here. Folks, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, and I really want to thank our panelists, Jamie, Padraig and Alex, who have given up their time to discuss their micro-credentials with us. Thank you so much.